Morning. First thing to say is we have no affiliation with this product whatsoever. I don't care if you buy it or don't buy it. There's a team out, you've probably seen them in the corner of the room outside that are demoing this product live, so that's your opportunity to see it. Having said that we're not affiliated with it in any way, this presentation will look slightly corporate because some of it's from their library of information. This is who we are. I'm Neil, I'm the production manager at UHCW in Coventry. I've been there for 5 years now, and before that I was production manager and a team leader at the Supercentre in Kings Norton run by Sterile. So 10 years total decon experience. Stacey, who is one of our production team leader for her sins, has done 16 years in the unit. So between us we've got some experience of what's good and what's not so good. As John and others mentioned this morning, pre-washing is so important, and there are also risks inherent in that pre-wash process. It's a manual process, it cannot be validated, but it still remains, we think, the most important part of the process for that reason. I think we've got a short film to come up, but this is how we work. So that's the way it works. Flow of sodium bicarbonate, compressed air, compressed water, removing dirt from the most complex instruments. And you've got then a rinse handpiece as well.
Okay, so why sodium bicarbonate? First and foremost, because this is a non-toxic alternative to the harsh chemicals that we're already using. So it's really eco-friendly, which means there's going to be less risk to your staff, less risk to the instruments. It's far less abrasive than using scourers and brushes, scrubbing at those instruments and removing those pacification layers, which is obviously something that we want to try and avoid as much as possible. This alternative is absolutely brilliant. I can only give you my personal opinion. As I say, we don't have anything to do with the company itself, so I haven't been able to fault it yet. Okay, so it does get into, as you saw in the video, it does get into the really complex instruments. We've tried it on all different things. So, and as I just pointed out, it is really non-abrasive. It's completely user-friendly.
So we looked, when we had the opportunity to trial this device, we looked at some of our spend, some of the potential savings, what we would have to outlay. Now we're a medium-sized trust. We've got 1,200 beds, 32 theatres. We do about 220,000 items a year through the unit. But we're getting busier. Every trust is the same, waiting list initiatives. We've just had our third Da Vinci robot installed at the trust, and they've just signed off an additional 4 theatres to be built at our second site at Rugby St Cross. So we know we're only going to get busier. Anything that we can do that makes the pre-wash process more efficient, quicker, we always try and look at. So as opposed to an ultrasonic cycle, we use less energy if we're using a bicarbonate. We're using less water compared to an ultrasonic cycle. And the chemistry is markedly different. So instead of a pH 10 alkaline detergent, we've got a pH mild alkaline, almost neutral sodium bicarbonate. Quantity can vary depending on the dimensions of your ultrasonic. And the hazardous waste that's going down the drain is removed. Similar for emissions, so you've got PPE savings, not required. It's in a completely closed cabinet, and enzymatic agents are not going down that drain. It's stainless steel, it's recyclable, it's 15-year life. The machine is then taken back by the manufacturer, refurbed if possible, and taken out to other markets in the world. No emissions, it's CE marked, and complies with the European regulations as stated. We all know the decontamination cycle, and just some quotes there from ISO, from the Centre for Disease Control and the HSE in Ireland, which is the equivalent to the NHS, stating how important that pre-wash, that manual clean really is.
Okay, so obviously in our industry, pre-washing is so essential to our job. The cleaner we can get an item before putting it into a washer disinfectant, the less problems we're going to have later on in that process. So we just got examples here where you can actually see before and after using the bicarb and what it can actually do. You can see that it's gotten right into the hinges of the microscopic instruments here, which is a lot more friendly than using a brush trying to get in there. I have seen people put brushes through and the brush is broken off and they've tried to then retract it. It just causes damage to instruments. It doesn't necessarily need to be happening. Drills, these are another ones where a lot of them, when they're not rinsed off in theatres correctly, they come back and it's dried on and we end up standing there scrubbing at them with brushes and doing damage that doesn't need to be done. So this was a really good example. So when this machine first came in, I actually went squatting around in my old instrument cupboard and found everything I possibly could that looked like this picture it'll be your left, just to see if I could get the same results. And 99 times out of 100, I did. The only time I had a problem was one that had got an ink stain on it. I do not know how long this instrument had been in the cupboard, and it was actually a plastic instrument as well, a dental instrument. I couldn't get the ink fully off, but it did remove most of it. It just left a slight stain, but it could have been in there for years, I don't know. So as Neil's already mentioned, you'll actually save money on PPE. Because this is a closed cabinet, you will not have any use for masks, or visors, or gowns, anything like that. It's a lot better for your staff as well, because there's going to be no fumes floating around that they could potentially breathe in.
And even the best sinks, height adjustable, are still a manual process that's hard on the knees, hard on the back.
Yeah.
If you set a process up like this and you set it up well, it's much better for your staff.
Rasps. Every technician I know loves. Who doesn't? I've actually already been asked about these this morning. I was really sceptical when this machine was brought to us. When someone turns up on your doorstep and sort of says, I have this miracle machine that can do 99% of the work for you, and you will no longer need to stand there scrubbing and picking bits of bone out, you sort of just go, okay, yeah, I'm sure. I've never had a problem. This machine genuinely does actually get straight into those nooks and crannies. It gets everything out. It's been brilliant, and I now have a queue of staff, because we only have the one, unfortunately, at the minute. I'll have a queue of staff every time Ortho brings their truck down. We're all wanting to get in there and use these. It's been amazing.
It's quicker than the traditional sink. Broadly speaking, we do, 12 minutes per tray if it's a complicated tray, and you can get a big tray through the Bicarbonate single-use cabinet, 6 minutes. So we're saving time. We've also found a decrease in our rewash. So from June last year to March this year, we've had a 34% drop in our rewash. So coming back because it did not get cleaned by the washers. A huge help for us. So we compared previously to an ultrasonic. Now we're going to compare to a sink. We're going to use more water, we think. On average, we probably believe we're filling a sink 50 times in a day at the moment, with our average 600 trays, 25 litres per fill. We think we're going to cut that down to half, 25 sinks filled in a day, with use of the bicarbonate, with our 100 most soiled, most challenging trays going to bicarbonate, and the rest, less soiled, going through the sink. So we're going to end up using more water, but detergent use is going to come down, because we're not going to be using so much sink detergent. That's 900 litres a year. That's 90 barrels, which we don't have to reprocess or get collected. Brushes. We've had a chance to look at this over the last 3 months. So our forecast for 2025 is for us to use 4,500 fewer brushes in the decontamination room, because they're just not needed to be there, stood there scrubbing at the sink for some of the more soiled trays. That's going to save us in itself £12,000 straight off our budget. PPE, again, we're going to save. We're not going to have to put so much to incineration. We worked out some brief costs in enzymatic sink detergent. That's saving us about 5k. And the brushes that we're no longer going to need to use, assuming our forecast based on the first 3 months is carried out for the rest of the year, that's 12 grand.
Okay, so we've just got a quote here from the World Federation for Hospital Sterilisation Sciences, and it just supports the use of eco-friendly products for pre-cleaning. And then we've got the different models. So the model that we currently have at UHCW is the furthest model from me, which is actually also the same model that I've seen quite a few of you playing with out in the back room. They do have different options, though, depending on what's going to work for your department. So if you've got a higher workload, then you might want a seated option, just to give your staff a little bit of a break. They've got auto loaders. Again, it means a lot less manual handling, heavy lifting. So that would be really beneficial to a department that's got a heavy workload. So they've got these ones as well that work a little bit like a production line. This is on my Christmas list. I have no idea how Santa's going to get it down the chimney, but God loves a triac. So I I would love this in our department because we are a busy department. I have a 20-strong team that work during days. So to have something like this where we could each have a section and be able to just move the trays constantly through it is great. At the minute, as obviously because we've only got the one machine, there is always a queue of people, which does probably slow us down a little bit. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. And then finally, I mean, this speaks for itself, really. They were the winners of the Green Tech in Healthcare Call Award, which just shows how eco-friendly this product is.